This video is about how to clean very dirty windows. I repeat, very dirty windows. Windows that in some cases haven't been cleaned in years, and I think that's probably the case here. Now, when windows are not very dirty, all you might need is two tools: your washer and your squeegee. But when they're dirty, when they're very dirty, these aren't going to do the job. This material, polyester, whatever it is, will not clean very dirty windows, and the squeegee, rubber, certainly doesn't clean very dirty windows. This is just to remove water from the window and leave it clean without any streaks. It certainly doesn't clean windows. In order to clean very dirty windows, you need something else. In short, you need steel. It is steel that cleans very dirty windows. Let me explain. So, the steel that cleans very dirty windows comes in two forms. One, there's the scraper. Two, there is steel wool, and I emphasize fine grade steel wool. There's also superfine. You can use superfine steel wool, but you don't have to. Fine grade steel wool is fine enough. These are the tools that will clean very dirty windows. Now, you're probably wondering, won't these damage glass, more than actually clean windows? And I'll answer that, because under certain circumstances, they can do damage. So it's very good to be aware how to use them, when to stop using them. So I'll go through that. The first thing I want to emphasize though is that even though I mentioned the scraper first, I would regard the steel wool as the more primary window cleaning tool than the scraper. I mean, I will almost always use steel wool to clean windows on almost every window, especially on the outside. On the inside, if I'd cleaned it 6 months ago, I probably wouldn't even need it, as I said at the start. But 95% of the time, I will use steel wool to clean a window. The scraper, I will clean, when it comes to the scraper, I will clean entire homes often without using the scraper once. Or maybe I'll use it on a small part of one window. So the scraper, whilst it might look a little bit more attention grabbing, a little bit more impressive, is actually more of a reserve tool, only to be pulled out under certain circumstances. Now, the window that I'm about to clean now is very dirty. I will start by cleaning this one here, and I'll show you how to use these tools, and I'll talk about when to use, when not to use the scraper and the steel wool. Now, I'll start by scrubbing the window with the washer, and then I'll use the scraper. Now, the thing about the scraper is that it can potentially scratch glass. And how do you know when it's going to scratch glass? Well, the thing is, as far as I'm concerned, you never know. It's only when you're using it that you can sense whether or not it's likely to scratch. Now, when you use a scraper, and it's always good to, wipe the blade clean, you can sense by the way it feels whether it's likely to scratch the glass. Now, I've been cleaning these windows all day, and I haven't had a problem. I can feel the scraper gliding beautifully along the glass, and I know that it's not scratching the glass. There are occasions, there are windows where when you scrape, you can feel that it's the scraper is scraping along rather than gliding, and you can also hear the scraping sound. Now, when it does that, I would not use the scraper. I would also be careful on very new windows, because I have found that very new windows can scratch easily. So the thing about the scraper is, and it's also useful when you only really need to use it. It is more useful when there are bits on the windows, little bits that you want to scrape off. The windows that I've been cleaning today, there's been a lot of paint, so it has been useful to scrape off a lot of paint. Paint is not the only thing that can get on windows as little bits, but that is what it's useful for, little bits. But if it's just dust, the build-up of dust, the build-up of hard water stains, that sort of the sort of stuff that sort of coats the glass, that's what you would be using the steel wool for. Now, if the windows are very dirty, it's likely that you need both tools, or both tools are useful. And if you use the scraper, that can actually make it much easier. If you use the scraper often, I mean, there are often situations where if you use the scraper first, it makes it very easy to then scrub with the steel wool without having to scrub too hard. You might otherwise have to scrub like mad using the steel wool. So it is a very useful tool, but I emphasize it is what I would regard as a secondary tool. So this particular window, I've just noticed, doesn't even seem to require the scraper that much. There is a bit of paint, but that's actually on the inside. So with this particular window, I'm just going to scrub it with the washer, scrub it with steel wool. Now when it comes to the steel wool, you might be wondering, does it scratch glass? If you're using fine grade or superfine grade, it does not scratch glass. However, if you accidentally use it on a film, if there is a film on a window and you pull out the steel wool, you will scratch the film. If you're cleaning something like perspex instead of glass, it will scratch the perspex. And also, if you've got a window that is what's called a laminated window, like comfort glass, it has a coating on it, it will damage that. So it has to be glass. If it is glass, the steel wool is fine. So I've scrubbed that with steel wool. It's very good for getting little stains off, hard water stains often. So the last step is just the squeegee. Alright, so that's pretty much it for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, if you've got any comments, please leave the comments. If you like the video, please let me know. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.